TEP production. Giving out instruction. I just keep it intact, this is a fact, right and exact, I won't step back. Admiration is the feeling that inspires your brain to make you gain self-knowledge, not go insane. I'm Satan's antagonist, acknowledge what I speak. I cannot be duplicated cause I'm born unique. Brother Kareem told me if I want it, I gotta take it. Kareem told me if we need it, we gotta make it. Nasir just said stand up and be a man. You're planning to fail if you fail to plan. Keep your circle tight, know your plight, fight with all your might. Study hard, stay in shape and everything will be alright.
This beat is slapping, before I make it happen I just wanna ask, may I rise higher with fire, made brighter than May, sharp lines, may climb and rhyme and may timing like sirens, may my thoughts may spray as I sway, may play with the day, may each bar may spark from the dark, may making the arc, may I shift, may gifted with riffs, may lifted no myth, may move clean, smooth in between, may carving out the scene, may words guide my glide as the tide, may ride on the inside, may minds free, may deep in the key, may shape in the sea, may I shine, may prime in my rhyme, may throw in the sign, may break norms, may storms in the red form, may lightning is born.
Let's go.
Get your copy of Fire. It's definitely a must-read. If you enjoy hood books, this one is it. Just like the title of the book, it's officially Fire. Get it on Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Peace. This is the Enemy's Public, and I am Bro.Nasir. I hope everyone's enjoying their evening. This evening, I want to talk about what's an ongoing problem in New York, and that is deed theft. Jewish people are actually stealing the homes of our people in New York. And what is deed theft? Deed theft happens when someone takes the title of a home without the homeowner's knowledge and approval, according to the New York State's Attorney's Office. Two ways that deed theft can happen, including forgery, which means fabricating a homeowner's signature, or fraud, when a homeowner signs without realizing the true meaning of what they're signing. Deed theft reports to the Attorney General's office went from 222 for 2024, excuse me, and 517 for 2025, more than doubling the prior year, according to CBS. Chiosi's work, he's the main person who's actually out here. He's a council person in New York who's standing and acting on behalf of our people, trying to prevent their homes from being stolen, or trying to retrieved the homes of the people who had their homes stolen. Now, in February, OC, alongside with other officials and the People's Coalition to Stop Deed Theft, announced a new initiative to curb the fraud. And this brother was recently violently arrested. Um, they called on Governor Kathy Hochul to put temporary eviction moratoriums on New York City homes where deed theft may have been happening. According to a release by the office that said black homeowners in Brooklyn were most affected by the fraud. Deed theft is one of the most pervasive and least discussed housing crisis in New York. OC said at the time, no one should be forced out while the courts are still determining whether a home was stolen. A temporary stay on eviction proceedings in these cases is necessary to achieve longer-term solution to protect homeowners experiencing the unspeakable devastation that is deed theft. Now, this morning, the brother was arrested for standing and acting on behalf of our people when an illegal eviction was taking place. They actually steal your home and they'll come and try to evict you out of your home. I'm going to show some of this because it is it's insane how people scam people out of what they work hard for. It's insane how this can be done and how the police, who are not supposed to get involved in civil matters, arrested a council member for standing and acting on behalf of the people. He was arrested while defending his constituent, Camilla Charrington, from eviction after 6 decades in her home. An elder. They actually tried to steal an elder's home through deed theft. Now, black displacement is happening right now in Bedford Stuyvesant, and Carmela is one of many black homeowners battling deed theft in Brooklyn. For months, our office has pushed for an eviction moratorium for homeowners facing deed theft. Now, the office said OC, a close ally of Mayor Zoran Mamdani, was being held at NYPD 79th Precinct in Bedford Stuyvesant and encouraged people to show up. Now, I'm going to show some of these deed thefts and how it affect the people. And it's a shame that nobody's going to prison over these deed thefts. It makes no sense. No one should be allowed to do this. Pardon me a second. Let me find this. I didn't put it in my StreamYard, so I have to go and find the playlist that I had set up. But these people actually forge people's names and steal their deeds. You can't get more heinous than this, nefarious than this, stealing somebody's home. You can't get more wicked than this. I'm going to share my screen now. This is absolutely insane.
Can you do inspection of the house?
Ain't no inspection. You don't own the house. Get out of here. You don't own nothing.
You know, this is a court order.
Like get court order. No, get out of here. Fake ass court order. Look at this nigga sound scam. This guy being.
What they actually do is they forge your name. They either forge your name or they have you sign something thinking they'll come around under another pretense, and they'll have you sign something fabricating a homeowner's signature is another way, or they'll commit all kinds of fraud to get you to sign something, and then they'll go and they'll get a court order for eviction, and they'll evict you out your own home that you've been in for a long time. This is evil, outright evil.
Here for years. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. Forehead. Get out of here. When they call the cops, you came, the cops came, they did nothing. Get out of here. Yo, oh yeah. I don't know if you know this guy trying to scam. We're not playing over here. We're not playing. We don't give a fuck about that little fake ass hat. We're not this fucking hat on. We're not.
I don't know if you guys remember, this was a very famous video that went around, and this is
This video was courtesy of the Jimmy Dore show. Jimmy Dore be having his foot on their neck. Anybody who's scamming out here trying to take things from other people who work hard for it. Jimmy Dore he usually have their feet on his feet on their neck when they do things like this. But listen to this nonsense right here. And this is the neighbor of the person who owns the house. This man is trying to steal his neighbor's house.
an Israeli stealing land from a Palestinian, and he's basically saying, if I don't do it, somebody else will. Let's see.
Yeah.
In this case, it's a Palestinian. But the other case, what we just seen, was they was trying to steal an elder's house. But in this case right here, it's a Palestinian. They'll steal anybody's house. Those who, behave like this, partake in that type of behavior.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this. I didn't do this.
But
It's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
you are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed.
Listen to his logic. If I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it. That's the logic he's using. Not that I'm not trying to steal your house. If I don't do it, someone else is going to do it. That's the logic that this man is using.
Allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
So he's like, hey, if I don't steal it, somebody else is going to steal it.
You called him by name. They're neighbors.
Yes, they know each other.
What a piece of garbage this guy is. So you got to talk to your neighbor by name. Yaakov, you know it's my house you're stealing. Well, someone's going to steal your house. I wonder where terrorism comes from.
So that's what they do. That's just the regular MO. Can you imagine that? Somebody coming and stealing your house and trying to... Anyway, so breaking. Jews in Manhattan are stealing homes of black people through deed theft. This is real.
Oh.
This is...
Well, who? The Kabod people? Or who is it? What, is it like a Lakewood, New Jersey community of hayseeds?
So let's watch.
Deed theft.
Lakewood, New Jersey is another case. They were collecting millions of dollars in welfare while living in $500,000 homes, but they're collecting welfare and didn't want to be held accountable. They actually called the prosecutor who took the case and was prosecuting the case. They actually charged him with being anti-Semitic. They just need to get rid of that title that they put on people. Just get rid of it because it's played out. People are tired of hearing somebody being called anti-Semitic because they're calling somebody out for things that they know they're doing. Now, if somebody lied on them, it would just be lying on them. It's not that you're lying on a whole group of people. You just lied on that one person. But what is it if they lie on people? What is it then when they lie? What is it when they're defaming someone's name when they have an organization called the Anti-Defamation League, when Jewish people are defaming someone's name? Who do they defend when it comes to defamation? Is it just them or is it everybody? That's the question.
Theft, where homeowners are essentially tricked out of their properties, has been a pervasive problem for a few years now. And now this group is rallying outside the governor's office, demanding that she do something about it.
My father and I worked really hard. We scraped and we saved and we purchased our home legally and legitimately.
Rachel Cyprian was shaking mad as she spoke with us outside the governor's office about the devastating impact of her 15-year fight to reclaim ownership of her Brooklyn home following deed theft.
It leads to homelessness. It leads to depression. It leads to all sorts of failures. Here we are, Black people, in this country now for over 400 years, and we're constantly starting from square one.
Deed theft is when a property's title is transferred away from the rightful owner, generally due to deceptive or predatory tactics. Frequently, the targets are seniors and communities of color.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Now, Brooklyn City Councilman Chio Say is pressing the governor to put a moratorium on evictions where there's a deed theft case pending or being investigated.
We are pleading to the governor, to the head of the state, to do right by all of us, to do right by Black New Yorkers, and to do your job.
During the moratorium, Chio Say and other elected leaders are demanding legislative fixes, like more support for homeowners in eviction court, special investigative units inside district attorneys' offices, a public database of shell companies associated with deed theft, and more. In response, a spokeswoman for the governor's office did not mention an immediate moratorium, but said the governor has taken a number of steps to push back against deed theft. Quote, no New Yorker should be cheated out of the opportunity to keep their home, which is why Governor Hochul has proposed $40 million in her state budget for the Homeowner Protection Program, and why she has led the way in enacting strong protections to empower homeowners and crack down on illegal deed theft. But advocates say they will press on for more reform and that immediate moratorium.
Moratorium now! Moratorium now!
Some people need to start being prosecuted and sent to prison for this. Because it's not going to always be protests like this. It's not going to always be, I'm going to say, non-physical. Because people are going to get tired of this. Somebody stealing their homes, forging their signature on deeds, and all of a sudden somebody's coming to tell you have to leave your house. They're bringing, and then police are getting involved when they shouldn't even get involved in civil matters. Sheriff department getting involved, and then they're telling you have to leave your home that you spent decades in because somebody forged your name or committed some type of fraud, went down to the civil court, got an eviction notice for you to leave your house and still in your home. I'm gonna tell you straight up, it would be a major problem if that was me. It'd be a major problem.
Governor Hochul, it is now at your door. Yes. Right. What are you going to do to keep Black families in their home? That's it. That's all I want to hear about.
If anybody should have fatigue when it comes to tolerance and just being like over water, like boiling at the top of the pot, it's our people. Our people should the water should be just boiling, the top should be ready to pop off the damn pot when it comes to our people, with much bullshit that we endure.
Between 2014 and 2023, there have been roughly 3,500 complaints of deed theft in New York City alone. So we will continue following these proposals and continue to follow up with the governor's office and councilman's office as this moves forward. In Midtown, Henry Rossoff, Pix 11 News.
So is New York being governed by Pizza Rat now, or is...
So wait, how do we know that it was the Jewish community and this is not just blood libel that was doing this, Jimmy?
Well, let's watch. So I got this video. This is on his Israeli man tries to seize a house in New York City like it's the West Bank. Let's watch. You want to watch? Here's a little bit. Here's a little short clip.
These guys are trying to scam my boy out his property. Look, it's the second time he came around. Trying to get him.
Hey, Daniel,
Trying to scam.
I came to do inspection of the house.
Ain't no inspection. You don't own the house. Get out of here. You don't own nothing.
This is a court order.
Like, get court order.
Must vacate.
No, get out of here. Fake.
He got a court order. He went and got a court order, and it's probably fake, saying somebody have to vacate. Just show up at somebody's door and saying that they have to vacate their home. Better than I am. That shirt would get dirty.
Fake ass court order. Look at this nigga sound scam. This guy been here for years. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. He's born here. Get out of here. When they call the cops, you came, the cops came, they did nothing. Get out of here. Yo, oh yeah. I don't know if you know this guy trying to scam. We're not playing over here. We not playing. We don't give a fuck about that little fake ass hat. We knock his fucking hat off. We not playing. You heard me? We not playing. I'm trying to play. I'm trying to get him the fuck out of here before he get himself hurt out here. You heard? We don't give a fuck about that hat. You heard? We don't give a fuck about that hat. We're not this.
A lot of self-control on that black guy's part, because for a guy to stand there in that pose while he tries to steal your house, and the guy only has something to say about your hat, that's it. That's a lot of self-control.
Well, I think that apartment was promised to him 2,000 years ago. I don't know if you know.
Probably.
That is a lot of self-control when somebody's there, very condescending, telling you that you have to vacate your house. We got the court order that you have to vacate. And you know you've been paying your mortgage. There's no foreclosure. None of that. But somebody telling you you have to vacate your house? That's crazy.
So that's and you wonder why anti-Semitism might be finding a rebirth. You wonder why. And I know Jews who don't go along with this kind of garbage. Most of the Jews.
I know some that don't go along with it also. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the ones who's doing it. That's it. The ones who's doing it. They need to be locked up. They need to be prosecuted and held accountable. It's time for them to be held accountable for some of their transgressions that they commit on people. It's time.
The Jews I know don't go along with this kind
Most
of
of them don't like this dude.
Yes.
Okay.
So show this guy.
So that's there's a coalition. Much the way Britain drew those fake lines around Iraq and everything as colonialists, the Zionists did that around Jews, because Jews are not this guy. They're not all this guy. So it's kind of unfair to have them all lumped in with people who do shit like this.
But
you can't lump them all in, because there's a lot of Jews. I could show videos, which I would do a program in the future. I could show videos of Jewish people saying that they don't support the state of Israel and that it shouldn't even exist. It's Jewish people saying that.
But that's such a sexy look, isn't it? That's such a nice...
I was going to say he really is wearing the hell out of those slacks.
Hey, don't you think they should update their garb at least a little or something? I don't know. Maybe I'm worried about the wrong thing.
You didn't like the Blues Brothers?
But let me just... Deed theft is also known as home title theft or deed fraud. It's a form of real estate fraud where someone illegally transfers the ownership, the title or deed of a property to themselves or a third party without the rightful owner's knowledge or consent. The goal is usually...
And they make a lot of money doing this. They'll steal your home and they'll sell it. Especially if it's a brownstone in Brooklyn. Some of those brownstones in Brooklyn are worth millions, and they're still. Can you imagine you paying a 30-year mortgage to somebody come to you, show up at your door one day, telling you that you have to vacate because they forged your name on a deed to them? That'll cause a major problem with me.
to extract the home's equity by selling it, taking out loans or mortgages against it, renting it out, or using it in other schemes.
And they'll also, like the man said, they'll also take out loans on your mortgage. They'll falsify your signature and take out loans on your mortgage, and you get a letter in the mail saying that you owe a certain amount of money when you didn't even take out a loan on your mortgage. And sometimes people's homes get foreclosed because they don't pay off the loan. You don't even know it. All you know is you're paying your mortgage. All of a sudden, you get a letter in the mail telling you that your house is foreclosed when you know damn well you've been paying your mortgage because somebody took a loan off on your mortgage
Before disappearing. It's a serious crime involving forgery, identity theft, and falsification of public records, though the forged deed itself is typically invalid in court. Resolving it can still be costly,
right,
time-consuming, and disruptive for victims. Wow, they didn't even bother.
The stress of going through all those litigations, trying to straighten that out, has to be, it's time-consuming and stressful. And they should do a lot of time in prison for putting people through that. You have to go to court. You have to get this straightened out. You have to prove that these wicked-ass people stole your home. Meanwhile, you may have to vacate. There's no moratorium for any suspected deed thefts, which it should be until it's straightened out. But they want you to get out pending that. After you paid all the mortgage, they expect you to leave pending that.
Bother calling it eminent domain anymore. They just come out and say they're stealing it. At least bank robbers have the decency to say exactly what they're doing.
I got to give it to that Jewish guy. He had a lot of chutzpah to show up like that. With
at least the bank robbers pull out a weapon. They pull out a weapon and then they force you. These people are being robbed with a piece of paper. And that's what makes it crazy. They got a lot of fortitude to show up at your door with a piece of paper, and they don't even fear what can happen. They don't even have no fear of what can happen. You know why? Because they do shit and they get away with it. That's why.
with a fake deed, I mean, and stand there like this. I think I could have your house.
So yeah, I know. So here's the typical steps in how deed theft works. Deed theft schemes often follow a similar pattern, exploiting public property records and weaknesses in identity verification. Targeting a property, fraudsters look for vulnerable homes such as second or vacation homes, rental properties, vacant or unoccupied houses, properties owned by elderly, deceased, or absentee owners, often those with clear title and substantial equity, no outstanding.
That's what they want. They don't want, they target elders or a home with somebody, if your mom own a home, your dad own a home, your parents own a home and they're deceased, or absentee owners. Often those with clear titles and substantial equity. Substantial equity. That means that the money gained some value and no outstanding mortgage, meaning that you damn near paid off the house. That's who they target. Somebody who damn near paid off the house in a house that has, the value went up on it. That's who they target.
Standing mortgage. They pull basic details from public records, from tax assessments, property listings, or online sources. Two, gathering personal information. Scammers collect the owner's details through public records, social media, data breaches, dark web, or phishing or mail theft. Key info includes full name.
They come around, look at a house they want, and then some of them are into information technology. They can get your information. Public records. They can go down to City Hall and put a FOIA request out for your public records, Or they could, or if they're into information technology, they could do a data breach on the dark web, phishing or mail theft, or they come steal your damn mail. Scammers.
Name, social security number, date of birth, and sometimes signatures. This enables identity impersonation. They also create forged documents. Using the stolen info, they prepare fake transfer documents.
That's what they do. They'll create a fake transfer document, forge your name on it, and they'll have you signing the house off to them. That's what they'll do. The quit claim deeds transfer the interest without warranties, and they say they're easy to forge.
Commonly, quitclaim deeds, which transfers interest without warranties and are easy to forge. Warranty of grant deeds. They forge the owner's signature, create fake IDs, for example, driver's licenses, social security cards, and may use a dishonest notary or fake notary.
A lot of them, they'll go to a notary public, or one of them, or a notary public, or they'll use a fake notary public to make the paperwork legitimate. In some cases, they'll impersonate the owner or claim to represent the owner. They'll do that also.
Notary stamp to make it look legitimate. In some cases, they impersonate the owner or claim to represent them. The fake deed is filed with the county recorder's office, register of deeds, or equivalent local authority. Once recorded, it creates the appearance of a legitimate ownership transfer in public records. This step can happen quickly.
They go through a lot to get that paperwork done. They do, even though it's scamming, they go through legal proceedings in their scamming. That's a lot of gall to go to the county recorder's office, register the deed, going through all this legal proceedings in a scam just to steal somebody's house.
And often goes unnoticed initially, especially for absentee owners. With ownership on record, the fraudsters can then sell the property, sometimes to unwitting buyers, via all-cash deals, to take out mortgages, home equity loans, or lines of credit against it, rent it out, or collect payments. And
can you imagine? You don't even know somebody's taking out a home equity loan on your property, on your home, and you end up owing for a loan that you didn't take out. Somebody else took out a home equity loan on your home. You're elder. You've been living in your home over 30 years. You paid the mortgage off, and oftentimes all you're paying is taxes. Your home is already paid for, and they take out a loan on your home, and now you got another goddamn mortgage because somebody took out a loan on your home.
And use it for money laundering or as collateral in other schemes. When loans go unpaid, the real owner may face foreclosure notices, liens, and eviction attempts. Victims often discover the issue only when bills stop arriving, strange mail appears, or they try to self or refinance. So
yeah, these areas they're talking about, I was looking up, is tripled.
Exactly. Now just imagine you need some money, and you could refinance your home and get thousands of dollars. You go to try to refinance your home, get a home equity loan, and you can't get a home equity loan because somebody else already took out a home equity loan in your house and you didn't do it. This is what's going on in New York with brothers and sisters' home. Israelis are stealing brothers and sisters' homes in New York.
Deed theft since in the last couple of years, and the areas. Here's how we know that it's Orthodox Zionists doing it, is because those areas are where they would do that. Bed-Stuy, Bushwick, all the places that were getting gentrified when I was living there, like Bushwick. So
Exactly.
those were all the. And like I said, when I live in Bushwick, my landlord that I had, Alan, who was Orthodox Jew, was a very fair, not kind of scumbag guy, and he had the curly cues and shit. But things really kicked up a notch, haven't they? And I'm surprised with Mamdani, the Muslim communist in office.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a communist. Sure.
They love calling people names. Oh, I mean, if communist means that he got a lot in common with the people of New York, and he's doing a very good job in his first 100 days, he got a lot accomplished. If that's what makes him a communist, hey, perhaps he is.
So they're coming for your kidneys next, right?
That's a thing that's been an ongoing problem in New York. And Amy Shanker, a comic, almost got her, I'm not making this up, organs stolen. Two strange women wearing UPS outfits and a guy in the background chasing her. And it sounded unbelievable. I looked it up. During the pandemic, they had a rash of organ thefts in New York.
Well,
it's not made up. That's real.
Wasn't there a string? Why does the number 19 rabbis got caught doing organ trafficking in New Jersey, right?
Okay, so I think that's Lakewood by where I'm from. And I think it was even like, it was definitely organ theft.
I'm definitely going to have to do some research on that because I'm in New Jersey. I'm probably about 30 miles from Lakewood. And I know they were committing welfare fraud in the millions while living in $500,000 homes, $800,000 homes collecting welfare. I know that much, but I want to look into that organ trafficking.
And even a mayor was involved of some small town in
Lakewood.
Is that it? Lakewood?
Oh, I'm almost positive it's Lakewood. And that's, remember Cars for Kids commercial? 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, why would a kid have a car? Well, that was Chabad. That's a Chabad community. Like the Moonies of Jews.
Oh, okay. So there you go. It's not just in Israel.
It's in Bed-Stuy. That's where you could probably get away with stuff like that. But I'm curious, like, who is doing that the most?
From my understanding, they're doing the same thing in Lakewood, stealing homes, because Lakewood wasn't always a predominantly Jewish community. It just got that way a few years ago because I used to go to clubs in Lakewood. They have clubs in Lakewood, and that's like South Jersey. I think that's Ocean County. It's Ocean County, and it wasn't always like that. But it's right next to Howard Township and Lakewood. They're right next to each other. There was clubs. Checkmate 2 was in Lakewood. This was back in the 80s, though.
Big real estate type people that it's not black people stealing. It's not the Muslims doing it, is it?
Anyway, if you'd like to hear my jokes about this, and man, I bring people together through hate. Come see me.
I read that about you in
Bellingcat. The Bellingcat will tell you that. In Salt Lake City, I'll be in Salt Lake City April 12th, April 19th, Las Vegas, and then May 7th, that's a Thursday, special show in Burbank, California with special surprises. And then the tickets go fast. And then we'll be in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Spokane, and Tacoma.
This is a good debate that I'm about to play. A very good debate on Piers Morgan. Fair use, fair use. Debate on the war in Iran.
I'm hearing him talk about monsters in charge of governments, the face of terror, nuclear weapons. Who are we talking about here, Iran or Israel? Which country in the Middle East attacked 6 countries?
This is Mehdi Hassan against a Israel spokesman. This is on a Piers Morgan live show, and fair use. This is a good debate. I want to get back to the deed theft, but I just wanted to show this debate because it's consistent with the ideology, demeanor, and behavior of such people who are never held accountable for what they do, no matter what they do.
countries in the Middle East last year. 6. It wasn't Iran, it was Israel.
You're in absolute denial, and so was Candace Owens, and so is Tucker Carlson.
I'm not here to speak for Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, who I've been very critical of. I'm not here to speak for Iran, who I've been very critical of. I'm here to talk about facts.
You're defending. You sound like Mehdi Khamenei.
Of course.
You just want
go for racist insults.
2014,
that's all you have left.
We murdered 300 terrorists last week, and I think those are your people.
Wow.
This one, you can already tell, it's not going to go the way some people expect. Because in this clip, Mehdi Hassan goes head-to-head with Doron Spielman. And what starts as a normal debate quickly turns into a serious breakdown of Israel's nuclear stance and the fallout from the Iran war. And when I say breakdown, I mean point by point, argument by argument. Things start getting very uncomfortable, very fast. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's get into it.
This is Mehdi Hassan, founder of Zeteo News, and Doron Spielman, the reservist IDF spokesman and author of When the Stones Speak. All right, well, welcome to both of you. Doron Spielman, welcome back to Uncensored. The New York Times piece that came out several days ago painted a pretty extraordinary picture of the Prime Minister of Israel sitting in the Situation Room at the White House with the head of Mossad appearing on a large screen and painting a picture of what would happen if the United States joined Israel in taking out the Supreme Leader of Iran and his top people who are all going to be congregating. That inevitably what would happen is the IRGC, the sort of ruling regime underneath the Supreme Leader, would collapse. The people of Iran would rise up, and that nobody would care or notice the Strait of Hormuz. That would be an irrelevance to all this. And all that's happened is that, and a lot of people in the room on the American side thought this was fantasy land. And all that's happened is the first part happened. The Ayatollah and his top people were taken out in a successful strike. But the IRGC remain in place. The people haven't risen up. And the Iranians have worked out the Strait of Hormuz.
Because the people of Iran are not the people of Iraq. Two totally, I know they're close in proximity, but they're not the same people. And the United States and Israel don't even change the way they do things. They think their propaganda is going to turn proud people against their government. It's not going to happen. It's not like the Iraqis when they turned against Saddam Hussein and started knocking down statues and helping to capture him and all. It's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that way.
Can be used.
And killing young girls in a school did not help to, get our Iranians on the side of Israel and the United States. Bombing civilian targets and threatening to obliterate the whole entire country didn't help. And then they had the nerve to say that that's what the Iranians want. Bomb us, kill us all to free us. Do you know what kind of mindset you have to even suggest such a thing? This is what they want. They're telling us to keep bombing our country. What would make you think anyone would believe something like that?
Used as an economic weapon to rival anything that people can do against them militarily and cause enormous global economic damage. Do you accept that the Americans were sold a pup here?
Pierce, thank you for having me. I think actually, Pierce, we're going to look back at this as a war that was as consequential as perhaps if the West had information in 1936 to act against Nazi Germany. We have to put this in perspective. Wars take time. Iran has had 40 years to embed. There's not been a single U.S. president, starting with Ronald Reagan, who I greatly...
Also, it's been very quiet in Iran. was not bombing their neighbors. No violence in that region, except for the time when the United States and Israel was there, bombing Afghanistan and Iraq, Iran's neighbors. It's the only time that there was any type of violence over there in that region. It was committed by Israel and the United States against Afghanistan and Iran in the early 2000s. I mean, Iraq. Iran was quiet. Quiet. Wasn't bothering nobody. So what if they're preparing in the event that somebody attacked them? That's what everybody else do. Would you expect them to just be disarmed and just be, armless, and so you can just run right through them anytime you want? You can threaten them with military might, and they got to punk out every time. The world is tired of that shit. The whole world tired of that shit.
Respect, going all the way through Clinton, Obama, and Biden, who's been willing to pay the political capital to stop the Iranian terror regime, the largest regime in the world, from developing a nuclear weapon. And why? Because it requires a preemptive strike.
How is Iran the largest regime in the world? He cannot, as I guarantee if he was asked that, he wouldn't be able to answer that question. How is Iran the largest regime in the world?
You have to preemptively stop Iran. If you don't preemptively stop Iran from having a bomb, the alternative is you're only going to stop it when that bomb lands on your soil. And we don't want to have a 9/11 where instead of 2 passenger planes, we're dealing with an atomic weapon. And
if Iran didn't develop a nuclear bomb in 47 damn years, what makes you think that they are developing it? And if they was going to use it, they didn't use it in 47 years. Netanyahu been screaming that 2 weeks away from building a bomb, a month away from building a bomb, since 1995. He's been screaming that. Oh, they're this close, they're that close, this close, 2 weeks close, a week close, a month close, 2 years away from a bomb, and no bomb. Iran allowed inspectors to come in. Israel refused the inspectors to come in to do inspections. But Iran allowed the inspectors to come in. And not only that, last summer, Donald Trump said he obliterated the chances when they bombed Iran for nothing, for absolutely nothing. Just bombed them out. Donald Trump just used it like a video game. Just go there and bomb them real quick. And claimed that they obliterated the chances of them developing a nuclear bomb. If that's the case, why are you there now? Because Israel said so.
And I think President Trump has been incredibly consistent from the very beginning. And here, obviously, he shares a value with Israel, which is that Iran cannot be a nuclear regime. It's very, very simple. You cannot have an Iranian terror regime that instead of blocking the Straits of Hormuz with ballistic missiles, they can block the Straits of Hormuz with a nuclear weapon. You can't have a regime that when they shoot at Israel, which we've had more than 6,000 of their weapons, both from...
In other words, be able to defend themselves against Israel and the United States efficiently. This is what this man is saying. It's like telling, if you're going to fight somebody in 3 months, telling them that they can't train and you could. We fighting in 3 months. I'm going to train, but you can't train. I'm telling you, these people are insane.
From Hezbollah and Iran, we've had over 1,000 over the last 12 months. Any one of them loaded with a nuclear weapon. And we have to take a step back here. We see the face of the regime. They're an evil monster. They're hitting their own allies. How could we even conceive that we would not take the opportunity to eliminate this before it grows? And the shock, Pierce, is that I have people like Mehdi, who's going to join us shortly, and people all over these this liberal fantasy land that you can transplant what you hear in the Oxford corridors if you just act nice and you kind of reason with them. Well, maybe they want a bomb, but they're not really going to.
It's evident that Netanyahu, who is a mass murderer, who has international warrants for his arrest. He can't even travel the way he wanted because he know if he land in a certain country, his ass is going to be arrested. He will kill children, men, women, and children who have nothing to do with the war. He's been bombing civilian territory, civilian areas since the war started with on the Gaza Strip. It's not even a war. They're just an occupying force, and they're not even giving the people who fighting them back the credit for being in military. They're not even a military. These are people who are showing resistance to what they're doing to them. It's killing men, women, and children.
They're going to use it. It's only for civilian energy. What are we talking about? Wake up. This is the face of terror with the bomb, and it's being stopped. And therefore, I think President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and it should be the entire Western world, has an opportunity to stop this before it happens. And I think, if anything, it's praiseworthy. Praiseworthy, Pierce.
Okay, Mehdi Hassan, it's praiseworthy.
Well, it's not praiseworthy. The entire war has been a disaster. I think everyone agrees on that. Even the Israeli opposition agrees it's been a disaster the way Netanyahu and Trump have handled it. I think any objective person can look at the state of this war, even if you are pro the US government, pro the Israeli government, and say it's been a success. But let's put that to one side. I want to take on board what Doran said across the board, because a lot of it was pure projection. I mean, I'm hearing him talk about monsters in charge of governments, the face of terror, nuclear weapons. Who are we talking about here, Iran or Israel? Because I would ask a few questions for your viewers to consider today as they listen to Doran. Which country in the Middle East has nuclear weapons? It's not Iran, it's Israel. Which country in the Middle East has not signed the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty? It's not Iran, it's Israel. Which country in the Middle East is defying a UN Security Council resolution calling for that country to open up its nuclear facilities to IAEA inspectors? It's not Iran, it's Israel. Which country in the Middle East attacked 6 countries in the Middle East last year? 6. It wasn't Iran, it was Israel. So Iran, for all its many sins and crimes, is not the road.
And I'm sure this guy's going to have an excuse to why Israel attacked 6 countries for no reason last year. Sure, he's going to have an excuse of why. Calling them everything they are. That's what he's going to do. He's going to call those countries everything Israel is.
Nuclear state in the Middle East right now. That country is Israel. As you said, Piers, in your introduction, global public opinion has made it very clear that they see Israel as the threat to regional and international peace right now. You pointed out, Piers, that it's Benjamin Netanyahu dragging American Republican.
Israel is the threat to international peace, especially in that region. Israel is the threat. No other country in that region is a bigger threat to international peace.
Presidents into wars of choice, Iraq in 2002-3, and now Iran in 2025, 2026.
Yeah, I mean, Doran Spellman, the flaw in your argument is just a bunch of woolly liberals who didn't want this to happen. If you look at actually the reaction from American conservatives, you got Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Alex Jones. You've got Trump supporters like Joe Rogan, Theo Von, and others, the big podcasters who helped get him elected. There's a massive cross-section of very influential people, many of whom are conservative Trump supporters historically, who have condemned this war and want nothing to do with it. So I don't think you can just bat it away as, oh, it's just a bunch of, liberals throwing their toys out of the pram. It's not.
I love the word projection because projection is used by people who don't live in the real world, because the alternative to a projection when it comes to a nuclear weapon, when does that projection end, Mehdi? Does it end when Iran is trying to develop enriched uranium, and already back before the...
This dude sounds just like Benjamin Netanyahu with his outright lies. I'm going to say if Iran is enriching uranium, Israel did it. The United States did it. I don't think anyone should have a nuclear bomb. But you can't tell me I can't have something that you have. If I'm running a nation, you're not going to tell me that. Not going to tell me I can't have something that you have. Hell no.
The JCPOA had already developed 6 times, and now they've developed almost 90% of enriched uranium, which is 20 times the amount you need for an atomic weapon. Is that for civil?
That's a lie. That's a lie. And if they wasn't developing enriched uranium, you're giving them a reason to by attacking them. You're giving people a reason to need to defend themselves by attacking them.
For civil uses, is that still a projection, or is it when they actually press that little button and it lands in the U.S.?
Well, let me ask you. Hold
on, Pierce.
Well, hang on. On that point, Doran, on that point, given you said
projection that 22 civilians have been
killed
but let me ask you, missiles, and we've had 600 warheads on Israel. We've had warheads land on the UAE.
2,000 people in Lebanon and 3,000 people in Iran.
And regarding,
this guy's talking about 22 people when Netanyahu killed in the tens of thousands. The tens of thousands. Men, women, and children who are not soldiers, who are civilians, were killed on the Gaza Strip in Palestine, in Lebanon.
It's so funny regarding Iran. You put them on the court bench. You call in someone for a character reference, comparing Iran to Israel. Who's Iran? Well, they've developed a global terror regime that stretches from the Middle East through Latin America into Europe. They have the Houthis who've stopped shipping.
I don't understand how this dude's not biting his tongue. Because Israel and the United States doing the same damn thing. How many countries are Israel and the United States in? Military bases. Military bases all over the damn world.
And have fired missiles and weapons both at Israel and U.S. assets. They created Hezbollah, the world's largest terror organization. That is also one of the largest drug organizations.
Actually, you created Hezbollah by illegally invading Lebanon.
Who committed October 7th. They just killed 30,000 of their people in the streets for protesting. I mean, do we need such a projection? I mean, only an idiot.
That's a lie. And that's a lie. Iran did not kill 30,000 people for protesting. That's a lie.
Would actually say we need a projection to understand what Iran's intent is. We don't even need to try. You keep shoving it in your face, Mehdi. You're in absolute denial. And so is Candace Owens, and so is Tucker Carlson. And President Trump thinks,
well, I'm not here to speak for. Hold on, Doran. Let me respond. You said a lot there. I'm not here to speak for Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, who I've been very critical of. I'm not here to speak for Iran, who I've been very critical of. I'm here to talk about facts. You say projection. Let's just deal with your little speech in 2 ways. Number one, even if I were to accept your premise that Iran's nuclear program was a threat, even though the IEA and US intelligence say it wasn't, but let's accept your premise that it was a threat. This is not the way you stop a nuclear program. We had the JCPOA, which Israel opposed, Donald Trump opposed. Iran was enriching at 3.67%, had no pathway to a bomb under the JCPOA, as every major disarmament and nuclear expert said at the time. It was Israel, Netanyahu, Trump that opposed this, and now we have them at 60% enriched uranium because of the actions of Israel and Donald Trump. So if you claim to want to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon, you've done a very bad job of doing that. In fact, if you're the Iranian leadership now, you probably want a bomb more now than ever before, because you've been attacked by Israel 2 years running. That's one point. On the point about projection, the point I'm making is this, Doran, and you dodged it, so let me ask it again. The only country in the Middle East right now that can put its finger on a button and fire a nuke is Israel. The only country threatening to fire the nuke it has, Ben-Gvir smiled and nodded the other day when an Israeli journalist suggested nuking Iran, is Israel. Why is your country, Doran, you're a spokesman for the military, in violation of UN Resolution 487, which was unanimously passed, including by the Reagan administration in 1981, calling for Israel to open up its nuclear facilities to the IAEA? Why wouldn't you?
Watch the excuse this dude use. This is outright evil and non-accountability. Watch the excuse this dude use.
Allow IAEA inspectors to look at your illicit secret nuclear weapons program.
First of all, I think you and I both know that there are no binding United Nations resolutions against Israel. Not in any sphere.
Israel is not binded to the international resolutions of the United Nations. Israel say they don't have to obey that shit. They can do what they want, despite what the rules of engagement is.
UN Security Council Resolution 487.
There's not a
You're wrong, Doron. You're wrong, Doron.
UN resolution.
You're wrong.
And there is a number of.
You're lying. Everyone can Google it right now. UN Security Council Resolution 487. People can Google it.
Mehdi, you just said it yourself.
You can talk over me.
Basically, just
UN Security Council Resolution.
You're saying that Israel.
487.
Mehdi, one second. We can't
you can talk over me. I'll wait and make my point again. Okay, well, let me just make one point and then I'll let you speak indefinitely.
Let Mehdi talk. You've been talking all the damn time.
UN Resolution 487. You can Google it right now. People can watch it at home. In 1981, the Reagan administration voted for it. It calls on Israel to urgently open up its facilities to IAEA controls. That is a UN Security Council resolution, which is binding under international law. Israel has been in violation of it for 45 years. Why are you in violation of it? And do you accept that Israel has nuclear weapons? If you won't accept that, why should we take anything you say seriously on anything else?
It is not a binding resolution. However, I want to get your point because I think you just answered it for me. You said that this has been Israel, according to you, has been in violation for 40 years. So therefore, you're assuming Israel's had a nuclear weapon for 40 years. Can you tell me one time, Mehdi?
It has.
One single time.
Are you denying
Israel
that?
has threatened another country with nuclear war. Can you tell me, Mehdi, one time when the Israeli prime minister under an entire command center would have the ability with massive controls. Just one second.
I answered your question.
That is referred to another country. Hold on, Mehdi. Another country, as you and I both know, that Iran, who you have projections about, the supreme leader, right? Ali Khamenei, which I'm very curious why you defend him and his entire regime. Ali Khamenei refers to Israel as the little Satan. And we both know how he refers to the United States, meaning the spiritual leader. You've called him a spiritual leader.
The question is, based on behavior of both of these nations, the United States and Israel, based on their behavior and what they're doing, being referred to little Satan and big Satan, the question is, are they lying? That's the question. Are they lying? They won't say that Iran or anyone who is being called Satan, they won't say, well, that's a lie, because they will open up a conversation of proving why it's a lie and how it's a lie. That's the question. Are they lying with the evil that's being done?
Doron, you're not. Let me jump in here. Doron, let me jump in. Let me jump in, please.
Calls America the Great Satan.
Let me jump in,
and you want to give him a nuclear weapon?
Stop
Israel
talking.
and the US are fighting together against
please
terror
stop
regimes.
talking. I am here. I am here, and I am moderating this panel. Much as you both like to just get off without me. Many raises the point I have raised with a number of pro-Israeli guests in the last few weeks. Why is it that Israel does not admit it has nuclear weapons? And are you prepared to do so now?
Israel, as we all know, is a state that upon its very founding faced an existential threat from 7 countries that attacked it. We also know that in 1967, Israel was attacked by 3 countries.
That's a yes or no question. In 1967 is damn near 60 years ago. Stop the bullshit.
Countries, followed by 1973, followed by the Gulf War in 1981, followed by Hezbollah and Hamas. There's probably not been another country on earth.
What's this got to do with you being transparent about having nuclear weapons?
According to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which Israel has not signed and therefore is not bound by, Israel, if it maintains a nuclear arsenal, it has not used it, and if it maintains it, it is because it
Why are you saying if? You know the answer.
Hold on. And since the Holocaust, which today is International Holocaust Day in Israel, it's Israeli Holocaust Day, and we are mourning tonight 6 million Jews that have died. Israel maintains the ability never to rely on anyone else, and therefore, Israel is not bound by the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. It didn't sign on. Who is bound? The United States is bound. and it has followed it.
Yeah, but how
And
can
guess
you
what?
demand?
Iran,
How
hold on,
can
wait,
you
wait,
demand?
wait. Pierce,
Yeah,
Iran,
Doran,
I answered
Doran,
you.
you're
I
not
answered
answering
you.
my
It's because of an
question.
existential
Doran,
threat.
Doran.
And I just want to say Iran has signed it
How
and
can you-
violated
Doran,
it from 2002.
How can you, with a straight face, defend Israel's
Easy, he can do it with a straight face because the people are self-entitled and they think they can set rules up for everybody else that they don't have to follow. That's how we can with a straight face.
determination for full transparency by another country over its nuclear weapon ambitions when you have so far steadfastly ducked my very simple question as to whether Israel has its own nuclear weapons? And if
I have not ducked your question.
do you
I'm
have
answering
them or
you,
not?
Pierce, and I explained to you that while I
Do you have
do
them?
not have firsthand knowledge of Israel's nuclear facilities, like you, I've heard the foreign reports.
You don't
and
know.
would
You
assume
don't
that it is-
know.
hold on. I'm answering. Pierce,
As a
you asked my
reservist
answer.
IDF
And I would assume
spokesman,
it's highly
you don't know of
likely-
Israel's news.
I would assume it is highly likely, as do you, that Israel has a nuclear program. Israel never signed the NPT, and the reason Israel never signed the NPT, I would assume, even though I wasn't in the room, is because Israel maintains its individual right to defend itself. To compare that now to Iran and a potential...
So nobody else has a right to defend themselves. Only Israel. Only the United States. That's the main problem right there. That's the main problem. The self-entitlement.
nuclear program in a regime that is the world's #1 global terrorism, or they are not just terrorism, they engineered the idea of terrorism. They represent terror that has killed 241 American Marines. They have killed...
I beg to differ. I beg to differ. I know what I see. I know what I see. I know what I've seen throughout the years. And it was not any of those countries in the Mideast, none of those Muslim countries that are committing more terrorism than Israel and the United States. That's nonsense. I know what I've seen. You can't call people a terrorist and you're doing all the damn bombing. They can't. Some of these nations can't even fight you back.
$85 Jews in Buenos Aires. They have killed thousands of U.S. soldiers with roadside bombs. They have carried out 22, according to MI5, mass casualty attempts in England since 2022. They just killed...
If soldiers are being killed with roadside bombs while they are an occupying force, what do you expect? What are they doing over there? If you are occupying force, you are subjected to being, if you're in a war and you are the occupying force, what do you expect them to do? Just lay down? I wouldn't lay down if I'm in that country. Would not.
Killed 40,000 of the protesters. Israel has a protest about cottage cheese. Israel's protests every day. How can you compare the idea that Israel would have a nuclear weapon and Iran, the potential of Hitler?
Let Mehdi respond. I noticed that Doran said that Iran killed 30,000 of its people a few minutes ago. Now he's saying 40,000. By the end of this discussion, it'll be 100,000. It's funny how they inflate the numbers of people killed in Iran, but never recognize the 100,000 people you killed in Gaza, that your military killed in Gaza, 100,000 people minimum killed in Palestine, which are actually verified numbers by international organizations like the Lancet Medical Journal. You deny those. But let's put that to one side and deal with some of the stuff you've been saying. Number one, just some fact checks. A UN Security Council resolution is binding under international law. The Reagan administration voted for it, and you've never followed it. You proudly say you haven't signed the NPT. People watching at home will laugh their heads off. You're basically saying, because we didn't sign an international treaty, we don't have to follow international law. So then why doesn't Iran just pull out of the NPT? Why doesn't everyone just pull out of the NPT and do what Israel did? You say Israel reserves the right to defend itself. That old chestnut. No other country in the Middle East is allowed to defend itself. Israel is the country that bombed, count them, 6 countries in the Middle East last year. I can't think of a single country on planet Earth, aside from the US and Israel, that bombed half a dozen countries in the calendar year 2025. That is your country that you're defending, a rogue nation that bombs whoever it sees fit and then claims to be a victim. You say that, for example, you mentioned in your comments, you said 1967 we were attacked. Complete flat falsehood. Israel attacked first in 1967. Everyone knows that. It's a documented fact. You can call it a preemptive war, but you can't just lie on here and say you were attacked. You were not. You said that Iran pioneered the use of terrorism in the Middle East. Actually, that...
They lie about every damn thing. Just outright lie. They'll lie to you when you know the truth. They don't even care about you knowing the truth. They'll lie to your face anyway.
Was the Zionist gangs. That was the Stern Gang and the Irgun who blew up British diplomats, bombed the King David Hotel, hung British sergeants, attacked British civilians and military and Arabs. It was actually Jewish and Zionist terror gangs that pioneered terrorism in the Middle East 100 years ago. So a lot of your facts are just completely wrong, and you're dodging Piers' central point, which is that you do have nukes. You know you have nukes. You're not allowed to say you have nukes, which makes this whole conversation so absurd. But the idea that you would come on TV and go after someone else's civil nuclear program. Remember, the US says Iran did not have a weapons program, while you yourself have weapons. That's the US intelligence community's view. They said last year. That is what the US said last year. The US annual.
Then why do we need the JCPOA?
Let me read out the quote to you.
Program that you support.
Why do we read out the quote to you?
A JCPOA.
Let me read out the quote to you. If you stop interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you, Doran. You spoke for a while. In 2025, this is what the Director of National Intelligence said. We continue to assess Iran is not building a nuclear weapon and that Khamenei has not reauthorized the nuclear weapons program he suspended in 2003. A country that doesn't have nukes is being lectured by you, a country that does have nukes. It would be funny if it wasn't so tragic and you hadn't killed so many Iranian kids as part of your supposedly disarmament program.
Oh, let me ask you, Doran, let me ask you a question.
Can I respond?
Doran, let me.
Okay,
You can respond.
Can I respond?
You can respond, but let me ask you. Let me ask you another question.
Like Israel wasn't attacked in '67. That Israel is basically decided to launched.
Pierce need to get some order on his program. You need to get a gavel or something to bang on a desk, because this dude is very disrespectful. He has no decorum. He don't know how to behave himself on a platform. He's a grown-ass man who disrespects the host of the program. If it was me, I'll mute his damn mic.
The 67 war. That's a fact.
What Mehdi does is he tells a fantasy story.
It's historical
like
fact.
Israel woke up one morning 2 years ago and said, you know what? We're a country of 9 million people. Let's go attack 6 countries throughout the Middle East.
Not
Let's
2 years ago, Doran.
2,000
Not 2 years ago.
Because we just
78 years ago, you've been bombing your neighbors.
By the way,
so 78 years you've been bombing your neighbors from the very beginning.
For a very, very, very long time. If
and you interrupted me, Doran.
I assume that you want to hear my answer. That's why we're here. October 8th.
You interrupted me when I was trying to read out the threat assessment, remember.
October 8th, there was also a war. That war began when Hezbollah saw Israel weaken on October 7th and launched a campaign of 6,000 rockets at Israel. And then Israel responded. Iran fired 500 ballistic missiles, which has been attacking Israel consistently. And Israel decided back then with the United States that it is time to deal with the #1 terror regime in the entire world. And what I hear from you, Mehdi, is you make an incredibly compelling case, diverting the conversation away from stopping Iran's nuclear power by hyper-focusing on the Israeli democracy that you yourself admit has had nuclear weapons for 40 years and never used them. And you were essentially getting a get-out-of-jail-free card for Iran. Mehdi, are you willing, if there's a possibility in your projection, if you projected that Iran would have a nuclear weapon, would you be concerned?
All right. Well, I want to ask a question based around that, which is, hang on. If I could just ask a question of Doran now, which is this, which is, if the whole purpose of this war was to stop Iran developing a nuclear weapon, do you concede now that if you don't get the enriched uranium, either voluntarily handed to you by Iran or by seizure, which would require the use of ground forces, that the whole war will have been a failure? Do you accept
No,
that?
it wouldn't have all been a failure because obviously we will not get the most important thing, which is to remove the enriched uranium from Iran. And that is the number one,
so it would be a failure if you don't get
done,
the uranium.
If we do not get the uranium, the number one goal of this war will not be fulfilled. And it's going to put the war in a sense of stagnation, which I think will probably continue until that happens for one of two reasons. Either Iran is going to develop a nuclear weapon and threaten the rest of the world, and the world will then try to stop them, probably too late, or at some point in the future, I don't know when, either the US or Israel were.
Netanyahu don't want Iran to enable itself to defend themselves because Netanyahu and Israel wants to control the entire region. And if Iran is able to defend itself, that would be impossible for Israel to run the entire region. Netanyahu wants the entire region. And when you have somebody speaking like that, wanting everything, of course, that's going to create an atmosphere where there will be never-ending wars. That's what it would be, never-ending wars, because Israel don't want to coexist with anyone. They don't want to coexist with anyone, not under Benjamin Netanyahu.
Or try to make that happen. However, this war has been incredibly successful for a very simple reason. We have destroyed Iran's nuclear production capabilities, its launching timers, its hard fuel, all of the many things that go in order to take that bomb, put it on a warhead, and shoot it have been destroyed. Their ballistic missile program has been weakened.
But how do we know? Because last summer,
just one second, their leadership and the planning mechanism.
This is what Donald Trump said last summer, that their capabilities were destroyed. And if that's so, why are you there now? That's the question. That's what Donald Trump said. The chances of them producing a nuclear bomb was destroyed when they bombed them last year.
Has been destroyed.
Doran, with respect, last summer, after the 12-day war, we were assured that the whole nuclear capability of Iran had been put back decades. It was done, flattened, it was over. 8 months later, a massive war was launched against Iran because it turned out that was all baloney. Now you're spewing, what many people will say is exactly the same rhetorical baloney again. But you're also conceding that if the enriched uranium remains in Iran, this war's a failure. And I don't see how
I said it isn't a failure because you'll set back a terror regime that operates with ballistic missiles, operates as
the regime remains in place.
Hamas, you'll have taken, again,
the supreme leader's son is the new Ayatollah, right?
Pierce.
Yeah.
What? Say this again, I'm sorry.
The Ayatollah, the supreme leader who was killed, his son is his replacement. The IRGC regime remains in place. There's been no protests from the people of Iran, and the Straits of Hormuz have become a massive weapon for the Iranians to use economically, as they also simultaneously attack all their Gulf state neighbors. So the idea that my point is the idea that at the end of this, Iran keeps its enriched uranium, you would have to admit, in that eventuality, the war's a failure.
No, because a war, Pierce, it's very rare that you get a victory, what's called, unconditional surrender of any enemy. I don't think it's happened since World War II. What you get in wars are cumulative gains. Again, this is not fast food. It's like a McDonald's drive-through. The woman says, "What do you want?" You say, "I want, the end of the Iranian regime." This is a process that began a number of months ago with the 12-day war. And what Israeli intelligence and U.S. intelligence saw is as soon as that war ended, Iran went right back to building the nuclear program, developing the nuclear sites, digging for the uranium that was there. They refurbished their ballistic missile sites and were expanding it from 2,500 to 7,000. And like you said, that now that we see Ali Khamenei has been killed.
Why is this dude lying like this? This is nothing but lies and justification for why they're there. That's a lie. Because if that's the case, if you're saying they have if they have the enriched uranium and they're developing a bomb, see, the lies is what destroy the credibility, and they just can't tell the truth. Just can't. They just don't got it in them. The truth is not in them, so the truth would never come out of them.
What do we see happen? They have not reformed. They put in another member of the exact same family, meaning this regime is evil. And
you have done this.
Now.
Hold on, can I actually say
stop them, Pierce? It's.
I guess they want a puppet leader, so they can control that person and rob them of their natural resources. That's what they want. That's what Donald Trump does. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu does, especially Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants to put in puppet regimes. Said, no, we don't want that leader. We want this leader. So they can rob them of their natural resources. That's most case scenario.
It's the idea.
Okay, Mehdi's response, please.
So what both of you are missing to an extent is it's not really about what uranium is left in the country. It's about intent. You have left, the Israelis and the American government have left the Iranian government, not just in place. There hasn't been the regime change that Netanyahu lied to Trump and said would be easy in that situation from meeting. They've not just left the Iranian regime in place, but they've left the Iranian government with the clear intent to want to have to defend itself, to use Doron and the Israelis' favorite phrase, their right to self-defense. If you were in the Iranian government today...
Exactly. Being attacked will make you feel that you have the need to defend yourself in any means. So attacking Iran was a bad idea. And they're having a lot of problems with that country, their little ass country. They have a lot of problems with them. They thought it was going to be easy, but they see it's not easy. Not when somebody's seeing you coming. When somebody see you coming for them, they're not gonna make it easy for you when they know you're coming for them. They've been talking about Iran for years, going after them. But yeah, they saw you coming, and they prepared for you. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail, and they planned.
Would you not want to get nuclear weapons? Would you not think I've been attacked 2 years running by people I was in the middle of negotiations with? Every time I'm in a negotiation with them, they kill our negotiators. They kill our top foreign diplomats. They threaten to kill more of us. Every time we're doing a deal, whether it's in Geneva or Vienna or Oman, they attack us, which is what the Israelis did last year. Why would you not want to get nuclear weapons? Why would you not look at North Korea and say, no one dares touch North Korea because they have nukes? Why would you not listen to Doron speaking on Piers Morgan saying, well, we didn't sign the NPT, so we don't have any obligations not to have nukes? Why wouldn't Iran say, well, we're going to pull out of the NPT, we're going to do what North Korea did, and we're going to do it because the world saw us get illegally attacked 2 years running? Doron asked me, do I want Iran to have nuclear weapons? No, I'm anti-nuclear weapons. I'm not like you. I don't support nukes and have a secret nuclear weapons program. I supported the JCPOA, which in the very first paragraph, Iran affirmed never to build nuclear weapons, which said that Iran could only enrich to 3.67%, which got rid of a lot of their highly enriched uranium. You, the Israeli government, Netanyahu, stopped the JCPOA, wrecked the JCPOA. You helped Iran enrich to 20 and then 60. You brought us to this situation, the Israeli government and the Donald Trump administration. So don't lecture the rest of us about nukes when you have nukes and you've now incentivized Iran to get nukes. Every year,
there is no doubt about it.
There is a resolution. Let me just finish my point, Doron. You and Piers spoke for a very long time. Let me finish my point. You said you don't like interruptions. I'll finish in a moment. The UN General Assembly votes every year to have a weapons of mass destruction free zone in the Middle East. Iran votes for that resolution. Everyone in the world votes for that resolution. 2 countries don't vote for that resolution. That is the US and Israel, because Israel wants to be the only power. Well, Iran doesn't have nukes, and you do.
You are so naive, Mehdi. It's unbelievable. I'm listening to you.
You can't even tell. You can't even tell. Doron, you can't even tell the viewers.
That's not. How can you call Iran a terror regime when you've been bombing your neighbors since 1948? Tell me, how is Iran a terror regime when you're bombing when you were the aggressor in the fight that you're in now with them? How they a terror regime? You've been bombing the hell out Palestine. You've been bombing the hell out Lebanon and all your other neighbors.
Today, whether Israel has nukes.
Iran.
You can't even say
you
one
realize,
statement.
Mehdi, you're defending
Doron, why should
Iran.
anyone believe anything
you
you
don't have a
say?
hidden nuclear program.
No,
You
I'm
do.
not
The
actually.
hidden nuclear program is Iran. It's Ali Khamenei. That's your leader.
No, the US disagree with you. And the
Mehdi
IAEA.
Khamenei. I mean,
there's no evidence.
Which one are you? Because you're defending. You sound like Mehdi Khamenei. We're a nice program. We vote against nuclear weapons.
Of course.
We just want
go for racist insults.
In 2014,
that's all you have left.
We already had 20% enriched uranium. I mean, who are you speaking as an American citizen?
And yet,
as a British citizen,
hold on. You're going back to 2014, Doron?
2014.
Who are you speaking as? You're speaking as the Israeli military.
And it was reported before the JCPOA.
And exactly. And when did the JCPOA get signed, Doron? Do you know what year?
2015.
Do you know what year the JCPOA was signed?
2015.
Exactly, the year later. So why are you going back to 2014? It was resolved in 2015.
And they never had to
and then you
the
and Trump came along and wrecked it. No, the Trump administration vouched and said Iran was complying with the JCPOA. So when you keep saying, why do you trust Iran? Iran did what it had to do. It, according to the IAEA,
let's unpack the JCPOA first.
They followed the deal. No.
Mehdi, tell us the conditions of the JCPOA.
I'm going to tell you what happened under the JCPOA.
No, tell me about what does the JCPOA say? You know, tell us all the truth.
I do know, and I'm telling you now. The JCPOA allowed Iran to enrich at 3.67%. When did they start enriching to 20%? When you and your friends in the Israeli government and Donald Trump tore up the JCPOA. Jim Mattis, a general in the American military, who was defense secretary, not under the JCPOA. No, they did not. As every IAEA inspector vouched for.
What do you think happened to that 20%?
By the way, Doron, what enriched uranium does Israel have? Because the IAEA aren't allowed into Israel. So why don't you tell us? You say we're naive. Everyone watching
again,
knows
you're comparing
about your
Israel
own countries,
with Iran,
nuclear weapons.
Which is
yes, I am.
I'm
comparing the country that has attacked
which is
6 countries.
Insane. Israel's not closing the Straits of Hormuz.
Why? You're worse.
International shipping.
You're morally.
That this is what you call self-entitled arrogance. To compare, he said, you compare it Iran to Israel. Israel can do what it wants, but Iran can't because I guess Israel is more morally correct, bombing everybody, killing thousands of people because Netanyahu wants to. But to ask that type of question is comparing, and he called Mehdi naive. No, he's not naive. He's just plain damn evil. This guy over here to the right, to the left, he's just plain evil.
Morally worse
Israel's
than Iran.
not funding
You're
proxies
morally
throughout
worse
the
than
Middle
Iran.
East.
You bombed
Israel
6
doesn't
countries.
target Marines.
You bombed 6 countries.
Israel does not target
bombed 6
Marines
countries
or
last year.
Hezbollah or Hamas.
You bombed
or
6
kill its own
countries.
people in the streets, even though you think it does. Israel
You just
is an open
murdered
democracy
children
with
in
a leadership
Lebanon
that
last
you don't
week.
particularly like what we
Doron,
do.
your military just killed 300 people in a single 10-minute span last week. You blew up children in strollers. You killed a 1-year-old at a funeral. You killed 300 people in Lebanon in one day last
made
week.
that battlefield,
You filled up
Mehdi?
the hospitals. You
Mehdi,
bombed
who made
aid
out that
distribution
battlefield?
centers.
Who created that battlefield?
You did. You violated
We
the
created the
ceasefire with
battlefield?
Hezbollah 15,000 times. Yes, you violated
was there
the
anyone
ceasefire
over there? Was there
15,000
anyone?
times.
You created that battlefield when you went there and engaged them in a violent conflict. Those people are civilians, and the rules of engagement are you're supposed to only hit military targets, but you're hitting civilian targets, hitting anything, and you're lying and saying that soldiers are hiding in hospitals and restaurants and schools, and you're just bombing things indiscriminately, not caring who the hell you kill. That's evil.
Times according to the Hezbollah, that was
Doron, I know you don't like facts,
population.
right? But you haven't brought a single fact to this discussion.
Iran wastes the people on the streets and they kill them in cold blood. Israel
Why did you
tells
violate the
people
ceasefire
of southern
with Hezbollah?
Lebanon, please move out of the way so that we can actually kill Hezbollah. And
no.
Pierce had on
Then
just
why did
last
you kill
week,
300 people in 10 minutes? Why did you carry out Lebanon's October the 7th last week?
You know what? It's not about you. It's not
Why
about
did you
me.
carry out
Listen to
Lebanon's
the
October the
Lebanese.
7th last week?
Salah Makhnou was on
Why did you
last
kill
week.
300
And
people?
I think you should listen to what he
300
said.
people
He
you
was on
killed.
Pierce's show and he spoke
Doron,
the
do you not
truth
feel ashamed
that the
that your
Lebanese
military
people want
massacred
Hezbollah
300
gone.
people in 10 minutes?
No, we don't feel ashamed. Evil people don't feel ashamed when they murder people. No, they don't. If you could, Donald Trump is evil, Netanyahu is evil, this man is evil, members of the IDF is evil. And to a certain degree, I'm going to say it, the members of the United States military are evil because they could just disobey those orders and say, I'm not doing that. But they're over there at the orders of Donald Trump, knowing that what they're doing is unjustified, but they're still doing it. And they're not even being fed correctly. They're not even feeding the soldiers right. The morale is down of the military soldiers. But they're over there flying. But some people just like that. Some people, they don't join the military. Some people join the military to kill. I was working with a white boy who was a Marine. When he got deployed, we asked him what's the best thing about being deployed. He said, so I can shoot people. That was his exact statement, so I can shoot people. So they love this shit. Warmongers love war.
How do you sleep at night?
I'm sure it is true. I'm sure it's true. Many
people in 10
Lebanese people
minutes.
would like Hezbollah gone, but it's also true that many Lebanese people right now are running terrified for their lives because of the bombing
million
raised
people
over them.
A million people displaced from their homes
people
by
have been
Israel.
displaced from their homes. And there's a horrible
Pierce,
familiar
if we don't
pattern
displace
that follows
them,
what happened in Gaza.
Pierce, if we don't displace them, then I go on the show and we're accused of killing civilians, right? And if we do displace them, then we're accused of displacement.
You told them they can't come back.
This. Wait,
don't
my
lie,
question is very
Doran.
simple.
Don't gas.
How about just obeying the rules of engagement, the Geneva Convention? How about just obeying that? That's the international law, the Geneva Convention. How about just obeying that? They might as well scrap that shit because the United States is not obeying it and Israel's not obeying it. Nobody's obeying the Geneva Convention, the rules of engagement. Nobody's obeying it. They might as well just scrap it.
Sliders. You've told them they can't come back. That means it's
I have
ethnic
one
cleansing.
question for you. Does Israel have a right to respond to Hezbollah after they shot 6,000 rockets at us unprovoked on October 8th, 2023, one day after October 7th? Do we have a right to respond?
Any country has a right to defend itself. Of course it does.
Does Israel have
Does
a right?
Lebanon have a
Because
right
you
to
seem
defend
to-
itself from Israeli invasion?
How?
Hold on.
Israel was not defending itself against Iran. Israel and the United States are and were the aggressor. They are and they were the aggressor. You're talking about 3 years ago, almost. That's not even the conversation. Not even a conversation. See how it's just a deflection, outright deflection. That's not even the conversation. The conversation is the war that's going on right now. Not October 7th that got you in the conflict with the people of Palestine. Yes, responding, but to commit genocide, to kill civilians, to kill people who has nothing to do with the war, that's murder, outright murder, and it's evil.
Doran, you always start these timelines. You start these timelines in weird places. You say 2014, ignoring what happened in 2015. You say October 8th, 2023. You ignore what happened in 2024, Doran. Let me remind the viewers of Piers Uncensored. There was a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah since the end of 2024. According to the UN, according to UN peacekeepers that Israel keeps attacking, you keep attacking Irish and Nepalese and Indonesian peacekeepers. The UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon say Israel violated the ceasefire, not 1,000 times, not 5,000 times. They say you violated the ceasefire 15,000 times over the last 18 months. So please don't come and tell me about unprovoked
I don't know
rockets.
about your
you,
numbers,
Israel,
however,
violated that ceasefire.
I have one question.
You killed.
Why did
well,
Israel,
you can Google is your.
If you violated the treaty once, you did it one time too many. So if he said you did it thousands of times, he's going by the numbers, but the fact remains that you violated it.
Your friend,
Okay.
400
Wait,
people.
there was one
hold on.
basic
You
condition.
can't just say I don't know
guys,
the numbers.
we've run out of time.
Numbers are from the UN.
We've run out of time.
Southern Lebanon.
I'm sorry, we've run out of time.
You murdered 300 people last week,
Okay.
including a baby at her father's funeral.
I'm gonna
We
leave it.
murdered 300 terrorists last week, and I think those are your people.
Okay.
A one-year-old baby is a terrorist. I think that speaks volumes about your
I'm
view
going
of
to leave
Arabs.
it there.
The one-year-old baby was put in harm's way because Hezbollah
I'm going to leave it there, gentlemen.
At a funeral?
The one-year-old baby was put in harm's way. The one-year-old baby was at his father's funeral who was murdered. and he called the 1-year-old baby a terrorist. He's an evil man. He's evil.
I
They were put
appreciate
at
you
harm's way
joining
at a
me.
funeral?
We've run out of time. So
Wow.
thank you both very much. I appreciate it.
And just like that, look at how it ends. Not with a strong argument, not with facts, but with a line that tells you everything you need to know. Those are your people. That moment right there, that's when the mask completely slips. Because up until then, Doron Spielman is trying to hold the line, trying to defend the position. But when the pressure builds, when the questions get too direct, that's the kind of response you fall back on. And it doesn't strengthen your case.
I'm going to go to the council members' arrest, the one who were defending the brothers and sisters from getting their homes stolen by the small hats. Either they stealing from you or they killing you outright.
Brooklyn Council member Chio Say has now been released from police custody. He was arrested while joining community members to stop the eviction of an alleged deed theft victim. Let's get right out to News 12's Nadia Galindo, who has the latest. Nadia, what are you learning?
Well, this incident really has shaken this whole community. In fact, you can still see neighbors gathered Brownstone, where tensions boiled over this morning. Councilmember Chio Say has since been released following his arrest. And community members tell me that 2 of the 4 people also arrested have been released. Now, this all stems from a long-running deed theft case involving this property. Video shows a chaotic scene on Jefferson Avenue, ending in the arrest of Councilmember Chi Osei and 4 others. Osei seen face down on the ground in handcuffs.
I did not attack an officer. I was manhandled by 3 men. They slammed me against the concrete. My face is sore, and I do feel a little loopy and dizzy. Yes. What do you think?
The council member was released hours later, standing alongside colleagues who are now condemning both his arrest and what they call a growing deed theft crisis.
Literally stealing people's entire homes and successfully able to sell those homes for millions of dollars.
Authorities say it began around 7:30 this morning when city marshals and sheriff's deputies attempted to carry out an eviction and locate the father of Carmela Charrington. It's the latest in a years-long legal battle that we've been tracking over this property.
Right? You can't look at those nice homes. Brownstones. Look at those brownstones. They're brownstones. Look at how nice that home is. And they're just outright stealing brothers and sisters' homes that they work hard for. They're stealing their homes.
This property.
Right? You can't just take people's homes unlawfully and try to legitimize it.
Charrington was released just last night after spending 5 days on Rikers Island, tied to a conservatorship case in Georgia involving her father, who lives with her in Bed-Stuy. She says each eviction attempt has drawn.
The police should not even be there. This is a civil matter. They shouldn't even be there.
On growing support, but at a cost.
The community is here all the time helping, but this is so stressful for them. This is so traumatizing for everybody.
The arrests are now shining a broader spotlight on deed theft across the city.
Deed theft complaints are up almost 300% in the city, largely affecting the Black community.
Stop deed theft.
Councilmember Osei calling on the governor to step in.
We must end the scourge of deed theft, and we will continue to advocate for the governor to implement an eviction moratorium so that homeowners who are dealing with pending deed theft cases can stay in their home.
Councilmember Osei says he plans to file complaints against the officers involved in his arrest. Meanwhile, he and the 4 people arrested are facing charges, including obstructing governmental administration. Osei also facing a charge for disorderly conduct. Charrington remains.
How are they going to charge him with obstruction? I mean, I can understand the obstruction because he did get in the way of them really doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. So, because the police are not supposed to get involved in civil matters. I believe the sheriff, constables, and sheriff department does evictions, but that the police were there, and it was an illegal eviction of a stolen home, but they still got involved.
Inside her Bed-Stuy home tonight, which she continues to fight to stay in. In Bed-Stuy, Nadia Galindo, News 12 Brooklyn.
Nadia, thank you for breaking it all down. And tonight we also spoke to Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso about Chiyose's arrest. Take a listen.
Deed theft is real. People are losing their buildings. Bed-Stuy had the largest displacement of Black people over the last 10 years in its entire history. At some point, people have to stand up. And at some point, people have to get arrested. And Councilmember Chiyose is meeting the moment. He's showing people that we either stand up and do something about it or we're going to lose our communities.
And other city officials reacting tonight. Mayor Zoran Mamdani saying he found the footage of the arrest concerning and also saying in part, quote, "It is a pleasure to work alongside Councilmember Osei, a leader in his community and a partner in building a safer and more affordable New York City. I am grateful he is out of custody." And Attorney General Letitia James sharing she was, quote, "deeply disturbed by the videos," also saying in part, quote, "My office is leading the fight to keep New Yorkers in their homes. And we have been in contact with the resident of this home for over a year to offer guidance and advice on her legal battle."
What are you going to do about the violent arrest that the brother endured? Forget all this sentiments. We want to know what you're going to do about them throwing the brother down to the ground because he intervened against an illegal eviction. We need to know what's about that. And we're going to go into being consistent with deed theft.
Welcome to Ask the Lawyer radio podcast with attorney Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa and Associates. This podcast features a recording of our most recent radio show aired weekly in New York City. We hope you enjoy the show, which features news, views, and interviews on matters such as immigration, personal injury, bankruptcy, divorce, family law, estate planning, wills and probate, deed transfers, civil rights, criminal defense, workers' compensation, and taxes, both individual and business. You can contact us at 855-768-8845 or visit us at www.askthelawyer.us. You have questions? We've got the answers.
How does deed theft occur and how can it be prevented? A step-by-step legal guide. Deed theft, also known as title fraud, is one of the most devastating real estate crimes in New York State. Victims often discover too late that their property has been fraudulently transferred, mortgaged, or sold without their knowledge. Seniors, the deceased, and homeowners in gentrifying neighborhoods are frequent targets. At Figueroa and Associates, we help clients identify, fight, and prevent deed theft. This article breaks down how these scams happen, the legal steps involved in responding to them, and the best methods to protect your property rights in New York State. Step 1. What is deed theft? Deed theft occurs when a fraudster illegally transfers ownership of someone else's property, typically by forging signatures, impersonating the rightful owner, or exploiting legal loopholes. The scam may involve fake documents filed with the county clerk.
Can you imagine living in your home? Somebody come to your home telling you that you have to vacate because they're moving in because they bought your home from someone who stole it with deed fraud and deed theft. You just got to, you have to leave your home because somebody sold it to somebody else. They stole your home and sold it to somebody else. Or they're coming by to show your home because they're about to rent it to somebody because they stole your damn deed. Crazy.
Forged power of attorney forms, unsuspecting notaries or identity theft, fraudulent sales to third parties. The thief can then take out loans, resell the property, or evict tenants, all while the real owner may be unaware. Step 2. Who is targeted? Deed thieves often target elderly homeowners, people who have inherited property, owners in foreclosure or facing tax liens, individuals who live out of state or are temporarily absent, heirs of deceased property owners, immigrants or those unfamiliar with real estate law. Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx have seen significant rises in deed theft, especially in areas undergoing rapid redevelopment. Step 3. How deed theft happens. Common tactics include 1. Forgery. Fraudsters forge the homeowner's signature on a deed transfer form or power of attorney, notarize it, and record it with the county. 2nd, impersonation. A thief pretends to be the owner using fake ID, files paperwork, and assumes control. 3rd, abuse of power of attorney. In some cases, a trusted family member or caregiver misuses their legal authority to transfer the deed. 4th, predatory scams. Some owners are tricked into signing documents they don't understand, thinking they are signing up for loan help, only to discover they signed over their deed. Step 4. Warning signs of deed theft. Be alert if you notice suspicious mail or bills addressed to someone else, notices of foreclosure or eviction you weren't expecting, utilities shut off or changed without consent, property tax records listing a new owner, your name no longer appearing on the title. At Figueroa and Associates, we investigate these warning signs and take immediate legal steps to protect your ownership. Step 5. What to do if you suspect deed theft. If you think your deed has been stolen, contact a real estate attorney immediately. Report the fraud to the district attorney's office and Department of Finance. File a complaint of deed fraud with the NYC Register. Consider filing a civil lawsuit to invalidate the fraudulent deed. Notify the title insurance company, if applicable. We represent clients in civil actions, assist with criminal referrals, and coordinate with law enforcement to restore ownership. Step 6. Legal remedies for victims. Victims of deed theft can seek legal remedies such as declaratory judgment to void the fraudulent deed, injunctions to stop further transfers or evictions, restoration of title, damages, and legal fees. However, these cases are complex and require timely legal action to avoid irreversible transfers or third-party purchases. Step 7. Preventing deed theft. Proactive steps. 1. Register for property alerts. NYC property owners can sign up for ACRIS Notify, a free alert system that notifies you when documents are filed against your property. 2. Check property records regularly. Use NYC's Automated City Register Information System, ACRIS, to confirm that your name remains on the deed. 3. Keep contact information current. Make sure your mailing address is updated with the Department of Finance so you receive tax bills and alerts. 4. Secure personal information. Be cautious about sharing personal data, especially Social Security numbers and identification used in real estate deals. Step 8. Special protections for vulnerable homeowners. We recommend seniors create living trusts with secure oversight. Heirs confirm probate documents are recorded properly. Owners use attorney-reviewed power of attorney forms. immigrant or elderly clients have documents translated and explained. At Figueroa and Associates, we also help prepare estate plans that reduce the risk of deed fraud following a death or incapacitation. Step 9. Criminal prosecution versus civil lawsuit. Even if prosecutors pursue criminal charges, the victim must still file a civil lawsuit to recover legal ownership. We assist in gathering evidence, filing complaints in Supreme Court, attending hearings and depositions, negotiating settlements or court orders. Legal action can be emotionally and financially stressful, but it is often the only way to reclaim your home. Step 10. Partner with a trusted real estate law firm. Deed theft is growing more sophisticated and aggressive. Protecting your property requires vigilance, legal experience, and fast action. At Figueroa and Associates, we offer deed fraud investigation and litigation, property monitoring services, title reviews and alerts, estate and asset protection planning. If you're buying, inheriting, or holding onto property in NYS, let us help you keep it safe.
They will try to wiggle their way in your vulnerable moment. If you inherit some land from a deceased relative, they'll try to come in, snatch that property from under you, and steal it. Because it's up, they feel it's up for grabs, and they'll just outright steal your property from you. A deceased relative, or if you're elder, they think your mind is going, so they're trying to come in and have you signing things that you don't understand, and then you ended up signing your deed to them. They either sell it and make money, or they rent it out. But they'll also, all of a sudden, somebody come to your home and tell you have to vacate the premises because it no longer belongs to you.
Conclusion: deed theft isn't just a crime. It's a theft of your legacy, your financial future, and your peace of mind.
All this time, with our history of our land being stolen from us through the same process, deeds, fraud, paperwork, land being stolen from us. Now they're doing it with homes that's worth millions. A brownstone in Brooklyn is worth millions. Beautiful homes. And they think they can just do this to us again after our land. Some of us are trying to get our land back today. And then now they're trying to steal our homes up north in New York.
Fortunately, with legal counsel and early detection, you can fight back and win. At Figueroa and Associates, we stand with homeowners against fraud, injustice, and exploitation. If you suspect deed theft or want to prevent it, we're ready to protect what's yours. Protect your home. Protect your future. Schedule a consultation today. 26 Court Street, Suite 701, Brooklyn, New York, 11242. www.askthelawyer.us 855-768845. Text 718-986-4362.
Imagine waking up to find your home was stolen. On paper, it's happening right here in New York. Deed theft is real, and it can destroy everything you've worked for. At Figaro and Associates, we fight back. If someone forged documents or illegally transferred your property, we take legal action to restore your deed, your rights, and your peace of mind. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 855-768-8845. Text 718-986-4362. Visit askthelawyer.us. Figaro and Associates. We protect property and people.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining me this evening.
Black homeowners in Brooklyn are fighting.
Didn't mean to do that. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me this evening. I'm going to land this right here. I appreciate everyone who tapped in. El Boria, P. Moses, thank you for tapping in. I appreciate it. And all those who I know was quite a few people who tapped in. They just didn't leave a comment, but I appreciate everyone for tapping in this evening. Thank you to the missus, my wife, for tapping in. And I hope this information was informative. And I hope it was helpful to those who live in New York and to those who own a home. Gotta be mindful of the predatory people that come around our communities. If you see somebody, and I know we shouldn't stereotype people just because they're in our community, but it doesn't mean that you can't be mindful of who's in your community. And if you see something that's suspicious, just keep it in mind. Don't sign nothing without understanding. Get lawyers involved. And check on your paperwork. Check on your property deeds and everything ever so often to make sure everything's legit, because people are predatory. They come around trying to steal our homes. Just be mindful. Until next time, this is The Enemy's Public. I am Bro.Nasir. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Peace.
Production. Giving out instruction. I just keep it intact, this is a fact, right and exact, I won't step back. Admiration is the feeling that inspires your brain to make you gain self-knowledge, not go insane.